Hello everyone, and welcome to Lesson 10 of Objective-C on the Mac. In this tutorial, I'm going to be covering how to use the NSDictionary class in Objective-C. So an NSDictionary works like a normal dictionary does in the real world. In the real world, if we use a dictionary, we look up a word, and we get the definition or value that pertains to that word. So in NSDictionary terms, we look up our key, which is our word, and then we get a value, which is basically our definition. So again, a normal dictionary is word to a definition, and an NSDictionary, it's just a key to a value. So those are just basically the terms that each of those use. So to use an NSDictionary, all we have to do is create an NSDictionary object. So as every other object that we create, all we have to do is that, and that's just saying that's our class name, NSDictionary, and now we create an object out of this. So we are going to call this one dict, and now we have two options, of course, with all different objects that we do. We can either use the alloc init version, which basically says we can keep this object around as long as we want, or we can use the temporary way, or using convenience methods that will keep the dictionary along for quite a while anyway, but it will eventually get rid of itself. So those are the two different options, but I'll show you the alloc init way first. And again, we'll talk about the difference between these two later on, but I want to keep it simple for now. So the alloc init way basically works like this. We have NSDictionary and alloc, of course. That's always what we do. I don't think there's ever any difference between that. So you can always use the class name and then alloc. And now we do init with, and right here, objects and keys. And basically this method will allow us to add entries to our dictionary. So what we'll do is we'll enter a value and then its key, and then we can keep adding more entries as we go. So if we want to add another value and a key and another value and a key, we can do that as well. We can keep going, I don't know how long, but you get the idea. We can keep adding more entries to our dictionary. So an entry is just a key and a value, if you didn't know. So all we have to do here, we're going to work with string objects, and this is actually an important concept, is that NSDictionary doesn't just work with string objects, so that's how I guess it is different than normal dictionary, but an NSDictionary can work with any object. So usually for the key, you'll use a string, and for its value, you can use any object. So I could be, for going back to our rectangle class that we've worked with, I could add an object of a rectangle, and here I can add any object that I want. That's not important. The important part is that the key pertains to the object. Okay. So, but we're going to use strings in this case because it's easier to relate to. So we're going to create a normal kind of dictionary here, and our first entry is going to be of a dog, and I don't really know how to define what a dog is, so I'm just going to call it a house pet. And from there, basically our the house pet is the value, and dog is going to be our key. So from there, and I don't know why I keep screwing up. So far we've entered one entry, and we have one key and one value. Our key is dog, being the word that we're going to look up, and our value is house pet, which is like the definition. So now we are going to enter another entry into this dictionary. So again, we start with the value, and we're going to say flies around. And then we're going to say for the key that it's a bird. And I guess that makes logical sense. So that's pretty much all you have to do for an NSDictionary. So we've entered, we've called the method init with objects and keys, which basically asks for a value and a key, or an object and a key, and you can enter as many entries as you want. So you have to finish off the NSDictionary like you do with NSArray with a nil object, basically saying that this dictionary is now complete. We've finished off the dictionary. Okay, so ending the dictionary with nil is a necessary step. So now we've created our dictionary with two different entries, one of dog, one of bird, both with their different separate values. And now we can run an NSLog and we can return the objects that pertain to the keys. So let's print something out here, and we're going to print out objects since strings are objects, right? So we want to call a method or send a message for the dictionary object, and our method for this is going to be object for key. And the key, of course, is just the value, or sorry, not the value, it's the key that we're looking up, or the word. So we enter dog, like so. So again, this method is just calling, it's looking for the object. The object is our dictionary, and then we just are calling the object for key method. So on the dictionary object, we're sending the message for object for key dog. So it will return the value that dog corresponds to. So since dog corresponds to house pet, we will get the value back of house pet, and that it will be what prints out. So let's go ahead and finish this off, and we'll build and run this. No problems, good. And now let's go to our console, and as you can see, we get the value of house pet. And no surprises here, I guess. So now let's try with our bird object, or our bird key rather. Build and run, and let's check out our console, and as you can see, flies around is the value that gets returned for the bird. So nothing too complicated here. It does work like a simple dictionary, so there's nothing that's too radical to us or anything. So what if we enter this value of Bob that doesn't pertain to our dictionary or isn't in our dictionary? Well, let's go ahead and build and run this, see what happens, and if we go to our console, as you can see, we just get null, because basically Bob is not part of the dictionary, so it will return null since it's non-existent. So that's simple enough, and now I'm just going to show you the way that you can do this, making the temporary object. So we just learned the way of alloc init. Those are our that's the creating the memory and then the initializing of the object. But we can also create a temporary object of this, or using convenience methods, which again just means that the object will stay around as long as it thinks it needs to stay around for. So the method for this is just dictionary with objects and keys, and oops, didn't mean to finish that off. So that's the method that we're going to run, dictionary with objects and keys, and you can see that the methods that you run are very, very similar always for the init version and just the convenience method version, because the only difference that we had was init. That's the only word that actually changes. So the methods, which are very nice in Objective-C, tend to stay the same around for most methods. So we have init with objects and keys, and now we have dictionary with objects and keys. And this is the temporary object version of our dictionary. So again, the alloc init and the temporary is not really important. All I just wanted to show you is that there are two different ways to do this. Don't get too concerned about what version you're supposed to use yet, because what we're doing doesn't really matter which way we do it, because our programs are so short that it doesn't really matter. But later on we'll get into how that's important. I just wanted to show you that there are two different ways of creating NSDictionary objects, and that there are two ways to create every object in Objective-C using alloc init or our convenience methods like we do here. So again, this works the exact same way as our previous setup did. So that was the NSDictionary tutorial, and of course there are many more methods and things that pertain to NSDictionary, but I'd just like to give a brief overview of how it works so you understand the basic concepts. And if you want to look more into NSDictionary, you can always check out the developer documentation, and if you don't know how to do that, I actually made a great tutorial on looking up developer documentation, which is the Xcode tips tutorial section that I've been doing for a while. I have like 5 tutorials in it now, and I think the most recent one was on how do you look up developer documentation or use developer documentation. So if you haven't checked out that tutorial, I highly suggest that, because you'll be able to look up all those different methods that pertain to different objects or different classes, sorry. So you can look up some different methods that are in NSDictionary, and you can play around with them, and yeah, so that's the whole point of programming, is playing around with different stuff. So anyway, this was the tutorial on how to use NSDictionary. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or just send me a message, or thumbs up the video, and please subscribe to the channel. I'm always making more tutorials, and I hope to see you on the next one. Alright, see you then.